Welcome, everybody. I'd like to introduce you to my friend, Danny Larson. Danny.
Hey, how are you?
I'm great. Danny is a U.S. founder for a company called doTERRA, and Danny uses the strengths in his business, in his family, in basically in his life. So Danny, tell us a little bit about your story, and also what does it mean to be a U.S. founder, please?
Yes. Well, first off, thanks so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here with all of you. So we are with a company, just like Jay said, called doTERRA, which some of you probably know, some of you don't. It's a very, fantastic health company. And about 14 years ago, we were kind of experiencing some health challenges with one of our kids. And so we started using some essential oils, and this dramatically helped our son out. And it's some natural products. And so we decided that this was something that we needed to look more into. And it really just kind of changed how our son's health and eventually changed so many different things for our lives with this. And, at the time when we first started with doTERRA, things were pretty tight and we were struggling quite a bit. In fact, just to kind of paint a picture for you, we lived in a townhome. And by the time we paid for our mortgage with that townhome, we had about $30 a week to pay for groceries, for gas, and diapers, wipes, other things. So as you can imagine, things were pretty tight for us. And we saw this opportunity with doTERRA and what it could do for other people's lives. And so we decided that we wanted to start doing this as a business and start sharing these amazing products with other people. And we have been able to help so many different people. Now, we started in these kind of humble beginnings, and we've been able to build up into a very successful business that I was able to quit my job and do this full time with my wife. And we've been very, very successful with this company, and we've been able to help so many different people. During this process, we've got 6 kids now. The oldest is 18, and it goes down to twin 6.5-year-olds with special needs. So as you can imagine, things are pretty crazy at our house at times, and we absolutely love it. So kind of during this process of being with doTERRA, this was a couple of years ago, we got introduced to strengths, and it was kind of an eye-opening thing for me. In fact, I think the first time I was introduced to strengths was around 2018, and we got introduced to this at a doTERRA leadership conference that we were at. And when I first kind of saw the results of these, I was like, oh, this is pretty cool that we can kind of understand our strengths and that we all have such different, unique strengths. And I kind of dabbled in it a little bit, and it was quite interesting to me. But to be honest, I didn't really pursue it that much after that. And then about 1.5 years ago, I started having some of my team leaders, some of my good friends that started to talk to me a little bit about how strengths had made a big difference in their business and how they're feeling about themselves, their confidence levels. And so it kind of intrigued me a little bit more, because I'm like, okay, if it was intriguing before, what's so different about this? And they told me about somebody named Eddie Villa, which I didn't really know too much about. And so I started kind of looking at my strengths a little bit more, and they told me that he was having this big retreat coming up that right before doTERRA's convention. And so, I thought, what, I need to go to this retreat. And so I signed up for this retreat, and it was probably about a month before we had this other doTERRA event, and I happened to see Eddie there. Now, I didn't know this at the time, but I have something called connectedness kind of high. And so I kind of thought, okay, there's a reason why I'm seeing him. And so I walked up to him, introduced myself, and just kind of said how, I'd heard a lot about him and the great things that he's been doing. And so, and I was going to his retreat and excited to get to know him a little bit more. And I kind of felt this small connection with him. So about a week or two later, there was another event that I went to with doTERRA, and they had a speaker that was there that did a couple-hour training for us. And guess who happened to be that speaker? It was Eddie Villa. Okay. And I was blown away at this point with the material that he was presenting, the way that he was presenting it. And it was just really kind of captured me and wanted me to learn more about strengths and what it could do for me. So anyways, so I went to his retreat that he had, and once again was just blown away with some different things. And at this retreat afterwards, I talked to Eddie, and I really wanted to see what I could do to kind of help my team out to get to the next level, to kind of do this on a big scale. Now, I didn't realize this at the time, but I have Maximizer pretty high at number 5, which is kind of this base strength of mine, that I want to help people get to the next level, but not just one person, because I want to help everyone get to the next level. I wanted to see the whole tide rising and help not just one single person, but I wanted to see everybody move together as this team. And so I talked to Eddie about possibly doing this retreat just for my team. Okay. And I actually opened this up to some other friends of mine as well, and had them invite their team, because I wanted to try to help as many people as I possibly could. So, I just, found some people that were really excited about strengths, that were friends of mine, and just kind of opened this up. And so what we decided to do is do this big retreat together, and then kind of have these monthly calls with Eddie that we could try to maximize how we could help people out to get to the next level. And I feel like it has been very successful and great things for them. So does that help?
That's amazing. That is amazing. So when you first looked at your strength report after you unlocked all 34, because I know with doTERRA, did you just initially unlock the first 5?
I actually unlocked the whole 34, right to begin with. So.
You did. And so when you looked at it the first time, how did it feel compared to when you look at it after you've learned so much from Eddie and so on? What does it look like now when you look at all your 34? What has it taught you?
Well, so when I first looked at the 34, I think the thing that really kind of jumped out at me is I always try to be a positive person. I try to look for the positive things in life. And when I saw positivity number 1, I was like, oh, that's good. That's good. Like, I was actually excited about that, which might seem funny, but whenever I'm around a negative person, it just drains me. Like, I don't like people just constantly being negative. And so I like to be around positive people. I like to associate with that. And so when I saw that, I was like, oh, that's great. When I saw belief was high, I actually thought when I first saw belief that, oh, that's my belief in other people, that, I can help people believe in themselves. And so, I was excited about that, but, kind of find out that's not exactly what that means. But I was actually kind of excited about my strengths, which kind of made me want to learn a little bit more. But as I said before, I didn't really learn that much more about them. It was just kind of this small window of things that it was exciting at the conference, and then I came home and I started getting into life, and it just kind of fell to the side, right? It just wasn't a priority for me. What was interesting to me as well is that my wife has very similar top 10 strengths. And so I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. We can really use our strengths together to do things, right? And that's going to really help us out. Now, what's interesting with this is what I've come to find out is I actually like this diversity of strengths that people have, because sometimes I have really high strengths of certain things, and other people might have low strengths of that same thing. And so we can work together to try to help each other out to do good things. And so I like this diversity of strengths. I don't like everyone having the exact same strength, because I realize that we can work better together if multiple people have different strengths, so that we can kind of take the best of all worlds and work together, if that makes sense.
It does. And so that would lead me to my next question, which is, how have the strengths affected your relationships with your children, with your wife, in your business? Have you seen a change in your story? Since we're talking about rewriting your story or changing your story, has this changed the way you think about things or relate to things?
Yeah, absolutely. So, some of the things that I've learned about belief, which is very high with me, is that sometimes I kind of think things should be a certain way. I have these beliefs that things should be, this should be done a certain way. Now, I've got some children that, as I said, I've got 6 kids that are all very different. Now, if you have kids, you'll know that they all come with their own personalities, right? And you can teach them all the same way, and they still have their own strengths as well, and they're different. And so, I've got some kids that are kind of defiant with certain things, right? That they decide that they want to do things how they want to do it. And so that was hard for me to begin with, that, I felt like they needed to do certain things, that they had to be certain ways, that maybe they, needed to believe in certain things and, do certain things a certain way. And it really helped me to kind of understand that they don't have those same strengths. They don't have those same beliefs. And so I can't force those on other people. And it's helped me become a little bit more patient, a little bit more understanding of how they do things, and that they can be the way they are. And so I think it's really helped out my relationships with especially some of my kids that I would kind of headbutt with in the past, to kind of help me be a little bit more patient with them and understanding, and know that other people have different thought processes, and not everyone believes the same way that I believe. And so it's really helped me, I believe, to become a much better person, and the relationship's much stronger. So
that's beautiful. Do you think that it would be important for children I know with the Clifton strengths, let's just say children over 15 years old, do you think it would be important for them to take their strengths test, and why?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it can help in multiple different ways. One, it can help them kind of understand who they are and why they do things certain ways. And also, I think it can help the parents as well. Just like I said, if, and this is something that probably brings me to a good point, that, I should probably have my kids take it that are above that age, because I think it would help me understand them a little bit more, and why they do certain things, and how they believe, and how they can be more successful and more confident in themselves. And that's probably one of the main things that I've seen with strengths in general is that when people take it and they really start to understand their strengths, they become more confident in themselves and they understand why they do certain things a certain way.
So that's a great reason for people to take the Clifton Strengths Assessment, whether you're a young teenager or an adult, but especially in children. Imagine that when you're told you talk too much in school and you find out you have communication at number 1 and you say, oh, okay. I can imagine that would be very helpful, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So do you have a favorite strength? And if you do, tell me about it.
You know, I think positivity is probably my favorite strength. And actually, I would say it's probably a combination of a lot of my different strengths. You know, I love maximizer. I love connectedness. I love futuristic and positivity for sure. Just that I love to be able to help people kind of see their potential in themselves and show that belief in them that they can actually do it. And, you know, if they're feeling down or whatever, that like, I love being able to talk to people and say, hey, you know what, you can do this. Like, I know you can do this. Like, the future's bright, right? We have a lot of great things ahead of us, and we can accomplish many great things together. And I love seeing it afterwards, maybe seeing people from maybe a little bit down point to afterwards, maybe after conversation that we have, that they feel like, yes, I can do this. I can do great things. I can be a great person. I am a great person. So that's probably my favorite strength. It's just that positivity, that trying to show the light that people have in themselves and seeing that light.
I think you just showed your light, Danny. Thank you so much for your time. And it's so great to know that strengths is a part of everything you do. And guess what? You do it your way, by being your most authentic self in your business, with your family. And basically that's your life. And thank you so much for being here. I really just appreciate you taking this time with us today.
Oh, you bet. Thanks so much for having me. And I hope everyone really kind of dives down into their strengths and realizes how great you truly are. So, because everyone is created differently, you're all unique, and you all have amazing gifts and talents. So thanks so much for having me.